Hellcat.
Yep.
Hello and welcome to a new episode. We're going to do UFC today. Today I've got Joe and the boys. Say hello to the boys, thank you. I've got Jordan, who Joe has stopped seeing his children today just so he could be on the show. Cheers, Joe.
Boy, I'm going to do this.
Thanks for coming on, Jordan. And we've got regular Owen.
Hey, guys.
No. Today we're going to be talking about the big two fights of the last UFC fight card. We're going to be discussing UFC 251 as well. So to kick off, we'll talk about the Mike Perry and Mickey Gall fight. Mike Perry obviously coming from beating Oliveira, I thought his last win was. And Mickey Gall was supposed to fight Oliveira, but it was cancelled. So we'll go to Owen first.
I like this fight, but not. The fight was very back and forth. Mike Perry took a couple big knocks to the chin, and I'm not all for that style of fighting because I think it messes you up in the future. It's not good to take all that brain damage. But I mean, Mike alone is like Marmite. You either love him or you hate him. He's got one of those personalities that either pisses you off or makes you laugh. It's how you take him. But I think I connect with him very well. Like if you watch the interview after, talking about money and the taxes, and he's in one of those positions where he needs to fight, but he fights that way. He fights like he needs to be in there as much as he wants to be in there, and I respect that greatly. And he as much as he does it for the love, he does it for the money, and you see he means business, and I just respect that from him.
Yeah, I saw obviously one of the big talking points was Mike Perry obviously having his girlfriend as his whole corner. That was one of the big talking points, and he actually won the fight with her in the corner, so fair play. Jordan, what did you think of the fight?
Yeah, same as what Owen said, really. Like, the first opening round with Perry, he was actually quite stiff. You know what I mean? He was throwing his combinations, and he's actually Mickey Gall was actually winning the early exchanges, which came as a big surprise for me personally. I was just a bit shocked. I also thought as well, how would Mike Perry handle the crowd as well, because obviously there was none, and obviously he uses that energy through a lot of his fights. And I just thought, he gets in the ring, and obviously he's dancing, he's using that energy, and he influences that into his performance. And obviously with this, maybe that was one of the reasons he wasn't, having that energy. He did come out. He was very stiff. Mickey Gall was throwing the first combination that was landing, as Owen said. But what was pretty impressive for me, which is his top game pressure was really, really good. He obviously did a lot of training since that Donald Cerrone loss. We saw that. He had that top game pressure against Cerrone, and Cerrone, manhandled him from the bottom, and obviously got the armbar. And you saw that from Perry, like backstage. He was distraught about it, and it was. I thought Mickey Gall displayed a lot of heart. He took some big punches. He got out Mike Perry's mount from the third round, which was really impressive. Elevated his hips and got out of there. But with Mike Perry, as Owen said, you either love him or hate him. It was one of those things when he had his girlfriend in his corner, what he said about her, it was one of those things with Mike Perry that I enjoyed it, but it's one of those things.
I found it also interesting that Mickey Gall, I think, tried 6 takedowns and completed 0 takedowns. So Mike Perry's takedown defense has got a lot better. I don't know if he's training with someone different at the moment, but I thought that was really interesting. Joe,
Or Mickey Gall's shooting was just awful.
Maybe that as well. Joe, what do you and the boys think of it?
Yeah, I really liked it. Similar to what Owen said, I don't like that style because obviously there's no longevity in getting your brain rattled constantly. But yeah, it was a really good performance by him, obviously. I know Gall was expected to have the advantage when it came to the grappling, but Mike Perry absolutely dominated him with the grappling as well. I thought it was a really good story about him having his girlfriend in the corner. But I don't think he should keep doing that because I think he'll get in a position where he's experiencing a lot of adversity and he's not going to his girlfriend isn't going to be able to guide him and calm him down. She's just going to be there and waiting for instructions from Perry. So hopefully this is the only fight that he does that, because I think he'll come unstuck very quickly if he carries on with the girlfriend in the corner. But yeah, I thought it was a really good performance for him. And it was good to see how it all played out, really. I absolutely love him. I know, like Owen said, he's like Marmite. People love him or hate him, but I love him. I think he's got such a great story. I love his attitude. And, yeah, it was just good to see him get another win.
Yeah, I say all round Mike Perry just dominated Mickey Gall. I know he had a few exchanges in the first couple of rounds, but I think Mike Perry pretty much just showed why he's got to be a contender now at some point. Got to get a good big fight. The big fight of the night, and probably a lot of people are saying the fight of the year so far, Dustin Poirier and Dan Hook. Dustin coming off a loss to Khabib, and Dan Hooker coming off a win against Felder, I think was his last fight.
It was.
Yeah, it was Felder, wasn't it? So, Jordan, we'll come to you first on this one.
Yeah, you said how it is, fight of the year. I think it is right now. I know we've got a few more events coming up, but definitely one of those. I thought coming into it, Dustin would win it early. I just thought he had that tighter boxer style, and obviously like Dan obviously he's got his hands low. He uses good kicks and good knees. That finish against Jim Miller says, he pushes him against the fence. A lot of MMA fighters, they use the head moves and go low, and he uses that knee. And he did that quite a few times to Poirier. But again, Poirier showed how tough he really is. A lot of people since that kind of fight, obviously, a lot of people are underestimated still. The type of casual would be like, he loses, he doesn't have heart. We've seen it a lot from Poirier that he can take punches. We've seen it through the Dustin Gaethje fight, how much he had to stick through and win in that fourth round to taking all that damage. So we know that Hooker was exactly the same after that Barbosa fight. He takes so much liver damage and he was still standing up. How all of them didn't, both of them took the amount of shots they took. I'm sure one of them could take an Ngannou punch and still walk forward. You know what I mean? Like it was unreal, really. But going down to the decision, I had it 3-2 for Poirier. Really, really good stuff from both of them. The exchanges as well. Hooker as well, landing some decent punches up against the fence as well. And that's what he does. He pushes you against the fence and lands those combinations. If you duck down with that head movement, he comes in with a knee. And how Poirier as well defended a lot of those shots, he did really well. But yeah, fight of the year contender for me. And both of these guys just showed how much heart they have. And I'm really looking forward to Dan Hooker's next fight as well. I really think a fight against Tony Ferguson would.
Well, he really just called him out. He just called him out on Twitter in the last day.
Yeah, I saw that
think.
from Chael Sonnen. Yeah, I think that would be a really interesting fight. I think he would probably win that fight as well because with Tony Ferguson, he's a great fighter, but he has a lot of holes in his games. And if he didn't have the chin he does have, then I think he wouldn't be where he is. He gets away with a lot of stuff. He keeps when he throws that jab, his chin comes up in the air with it. So I think Hooker would do really well. But yeah, fight of the year, and I'm glad that Poirier got the win. And let's see where his next fight takes him. I think he does really well in the upcoming future. But let's see what happens.
Yeah, I had it like you said. You scored it. I think I had Dustin winning the first two rounds and the last round, and I think Hooker won rounds 3 and 4 for me. Joe, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, I had it slightly different. I had Hooker winning the first 2 rounds, and then I thought Dustin took over and won 3, 4, and 5.
That's what I got.
Yeah, Hooker's calf kicks was so effective. I really liked the way he was using that constantly against Dustin, and I think it threw Dustin off quite quickly as well. But yeah, Dustin overcame it. His boxing was phenomenal. Yeah, it was just an absolute war. I think that fight or the fight with Joanna and Weili, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but those 2 fights, Weili Zhang. I think those 2 fights it's one of them that is the fight of the year for sure. But yeah, that was a phenomenal fight. You kind of knew it would be anyway coming into it because both of their styles, they love to have a tear up. So you knew it was going to be a great fight anyway. Yeah, it was great to see Dustin when Dustin's one of my favorite fighters. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who he's going to fight next, really. I can't see him fighting Khabib anytime soon. But maybe Justin again, something like that. But yeah, it was just a really cool fight. Or I'd like to see him fight Paul Felder as well. Paul Felder tweeted about that, saying that he'd like to fight the winner. So that would be a sick fight. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, but considering, like I said, Dan Hooker beat Felder, would you back Poirier to beat Felder as well?
Well, obviously styles make fights. I still would back Poirier, but I just think it would be a phenomenal fight. That's all.
Yeah.
Poor Felder's
It's
tough
just,
as well.
it's just one. Yeah, he's very tough.
Yeah. Owen, what do you think of the Poirier Hooker fight?
I really enjoyed it. I love a good bang. I love a good clash. And when fights like that last to the 5th round, I really enjoy it. Like, not a lot of fights can go and go and go until the 5th round, but this one, I did really, really enjoy it. Do I believe it's the fight of the year? I don't think so, not yet. Like I said, we got a heck of a lot of good fights coming up as well. So
But
I think
so far,
so far, it's definitely up there for sure. But I've trained with Hooker, and
all right,
he's
name drop. Just drop that one in.
he's a class guy. And I think if round 2 had 10 seconds more, I think it would have been stopped. That end was it was brutal. But again, it's props to Dustin's chin. He's a solid guy, man, and you've got to come with everything you got. But yeah, what a great fight.
Yeah, that's like I think we've all said, pretty much top fight of the year so far, potentially. Now we're going to have a look forward to UFC 251, and there's a lot of hype around this. Probably the best card I've seen since I've really started getting into UFC. 3 title fights in one night. Obviously, the first fight in Fight Island, it's just built up to be amazing. I'm booking the day off work the day after. So, we'll start from the bottom. We'll start from Yan v Aldo. And should we go to Joe first, since he wanted to be first on this one?
With the boys.
With the boys.
Yeah, I can't wait for that fight. I know a lot of people are saying maybe Aldo's not deserving of a title fight, but I don't really care, in all honesty. I can't wait to see it. Jan's obviously on a bit of a tear at the moment. I do think he's going to take the fight, but every fight with Aldo is entertaining, so I can't wait for that. I think it's going to be an absolute tear up. And I do honestly think that Yan may win. I think he may stop Aldo, in all honesty. Yeah, that's all I've got to say about that, to be honest. I just think it'll be a really good fight.
Thanks for that tactical insight there, Joe.
Not a problem, mate.
What about you?
I'm really disappointed with this fight. I hate it. I like all Dana's been showing off is that it's number 1 versus champion, number 1 versus champion, number 1 versus champion. This is 6-3. I think there's definitely more deserving. I'm not saying Yan. I think Yan deserves a shot, but Aldo, I feel he's had his time, and maybe have a couple more fights, because he's lost his last 2. He's lost against the champion in the weight class above, Alex Volkanovski.
Volkanovski, yeah.
I really don't like it. Like I said, I feel someone else, Sterling. I think Sterling should have had a shot. He's hot on it at the minute. I really like his style, and I think him and Yan would have been a good butt heads. But it's the way it is, and I can't wait for the next fight for this one, when there's an actual champion, when this champion defends their title. I'm excited
that weight
for that.
class is probably the best going at the moment. I'd probably say that's the best.
It's quite hot at the minute, for sure. And especially with Cody climbing up the ranks again. Like you say, Sugar Show, it's looking good. It's looking packed. So I think this time next year, it will be interesting. I think as they all start climbing up again, they start getting more confident and comfortable. And they actually have a target to aim for, because like you said, there's no champion now. It's different when you're aiming for something. And I'm excited to see where this all leads.
Who are you backing for the fight then?
Yan, for sure.
Hey, Yan. And Jordan, what about you?
Yeah, pretty much covered it, really. I think Joe and Owen said some good points. I think one of the good points what Owen said is with Sterling. Yeah, I actually thought Sterling was going to have that fight. I really did. Against Yan as well. I think Sterling's style really works well against Yan as well. He comes out, kicks very kick heavy, and he's in and out. Yan's pretty stiff. He comes out very similar to how Mike Perry comes out with that Mickey Gall fight. His hands are tight, comes walking forward. And don't get me wrong, like I don't agree that Jose Aldo has this opportunity to be bantamweight champion. But I think the style of fight between both of these guys, I think it's going to be really good. Going to be a really good fight. I think Aldo right now is a little bit off his prime now. So yeah, I do think he will lose this fight. However, if it was, let's say the same matchup, but Aldo was still in his peak, I think Aldo takes this. He's he has that Muay Thai style, but he's in and out and he's very, very fast and durable. But yeah, I do think Yan takes this one for now. But yeah, I'm really interested to have this champion and maybe have Yan and versus Sterling. But I think Sterling takes this division. I think he's a champion for quite a long time. As I said, that style where he comes out with kick heavy, in and out, very good wrestling, very good jiu-jitsu as well. But yeah, I think we've kind of said it all already. But yeah, I do think Peter Yan wins this one, but it will be very close. And I think it will go to a decision. I don't think there's any finishes, but I do think it will be a good fight just stylistically.
Yeah, we had a discussion on our last UFC podcast because obviously that was the night you had Aljamain Sterling, you had Sugar Show, and you had Cody all have their good wins. Yeah, they all won in the same category, obviously in the same weight class. And I said I was more impressed with the Sterling finish than I was with the Cody or the Sugar. Anyone can do the one bang finish, but Sterling absolutely dominated. But yeah, we'll go on to the next one, Volkanovski and Holloway. I'm really looking forward to this one personally. I think I might even be looking forward to this one more than Usman versus Burns, to be honest. Owen, what about you?
Yeah, I've trained with Alex the Great. I know, name dropping again.
Oh, God. Bore off.
Have you trained with the boy, Joe?
I'm a great fan. I'm a great fan. I don't get me wrong. I love Max Holloway. I think he's done his dues. He's done his time, and he's definitely a Hall of Famer. But this is a hard one to call. I'm really excited. The first one was close. I think Alex got the better. He had the more pressure, and I think his pressure game is key in this. I think if he keeps Max on the back foot, because he almost goes in for a double and he comes up with that massive hook. I see him using that to knock Max out. But I can also see Holloway being able to use his footwork, get on the outside, and just pick him off. So, like I said, it's one of those.
Are you getting splinters on that fence you're sitting on, mate?
I'm definitely on the fence on this one.
Go on, give us your prediction though. Go on.
I've got to say Alex.
Alex, points.
It's because I think it will go to decision, but if Alex was to knock him out, it would be that overhand right hook. But I didn't want this fight. Max deserves it, but I really want to see Alex as a champion and defend his title against a couple other people before, or if he loses it.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot more fights out there for him, and I want to see that before the inevitable happens. He will lose it at some point, whether it's through retirement or a loss. And I think this backs it up a bit, but I'm excited. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, like I said, I can't wait for this one. I think it'll be a great fight. Should we go to the boys? And Joe, obviously.
I can only see one of them at the moment.
Can we have both boys in the picture at one time?
Both in.
There you go.
I can't wait for the fight.
Frame.
I've got to try and get the females involved in the podcast. That's the only way I'm getting female views at the moment. It ain't me, Jordan, or Owen, is it?
Gonna get mine out. That's it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the fight. I thought the first fight was phenomenal. Like Owen said, it was very close. Volkanovski, his leg kicks were phenomenal, and every time, what I really liked, he was when he was on the outside, he was constantly throwing leg kicks, and every single time Max would get in range and throw, Volkanovski would always try and overlap his shots, which I thought was really, really good. So every single time Max Holloway was throwing, there was always danger there that he could get countered. So it stops the other guy working, it stops his flow, which I thought he did so well. Yeah, I do think obviously Max has got a massive say in this fight, and he could win in the fight. But I do think Volkanovski is a lot fresher. I think he's got some awesome momentum going at the minute, and I think that means so much when it comes to fighting. So yeah, I do pick Volkanovski for the win. I don't think it'll be a knockout. I think it'll be a decision for sure, just because Max is so durable. But yeah, I definitely have Volkanovski for the win. I agree with what Owen said as well. Even though, not saying Max doesn't deserve the rematch. Obviously, they'd have a rematch down the line, but I would have liked to have seen him defend the belt, fight other people, fight different styles. I would have liked to have seen that, but obviously, if he gets past Max Holloway, we're going to see that anyway. So yeah, it's just a really good matchup. And I think Volkanovski potentially could be a Hall of Famer as well. I think he's got so much potential.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
And he's Owen's best friend as well.
Yeah, that's always going to get you in the Hall of Fame.
Hey, I'm on the UFC page training with that guy.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
That's so cool. So you're in the UFC basically.
I am the UFC. Get that correct.
Yeah.
And if Volkanovski watches this because his friend Owen's on it and you want to come on the show, just drop me a message and I'll see if I can fit you in. But I might not be able to, mate. I'm a very busy man. Jordan, what do you think of the fight?
It is what it is, really.
Thanks for that. No, thanks for coming on. On to the next fight. Anyway, that was good.
I love a little pun in that. No, in all fairness, again, Joe and Owens said it best. Really, there's nothing really much I can really add, really. But what I will say is that again, yeah, I think it's another decision win. What I will say that no one's getting knocked out. We do know from Max, yes, he can knock people out, but it's mainly his volume of punches that really gets him the results that he has. He's very similar to that Nate Diaz, but like what I like about Max as well, that he uses his kicks. He uses his kicks, he pushes people on the fence, he uses his combination like he did with Poirier, in and out, throwing his combinations. He's so durable for that weight class as well. But yeah, with Volkanovski's leg kicks as well, that really did help him. Because again, when you're utilizing those leg kicks and now working, for someone like Max who uses his movement, it did stop him in his tracks. And I do think it's another win for Volkanovski, Hall of Famer. And but yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, there's not really much more I can say. That both guys have said really good points. But yeah, I do think Volkanovski picks this one again.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens with Max in the future.
I think the problem is Max has got really good dirty boxing, especially when he's up against the cage. But it's hard to use that against a shorter guy. Alex can get in there more, and that's where Alex's pressure is going to come into play, because he is that short. He's got that. Max has got that height advantage, which sometimes isn't an advantage. I personally like fighting taller guys. Every guy I've fought against has been taller. It's just
that's because nobody's shorter than you.
I'm only 5'8". But it's easier to get in, and if for whatever reason I feel panicked, I'm going to get in and pressure against a cage. It's easier to get that head position right in the chin. It's easier to go for shots, double legs. And I wanted to throw this out there. Not that I think it would ever happen.
What, have you trained with Burns and Usman as well?
No. I'm Burns' coach.
Oh, yeah.
No, but
you're more likely to be Mike Perry's girlfriend, mate.
I'd make Mike Perry my bitch. Dan Hooker, Conor McGregor.
Hooker McGregor? If McGregor's going to come back, I think he'd pick somebody a bit more high profile.
No, exactly. But they are next to each other on the rankings.
Yeah, I saw that. 4th and 5th, is it? Is it 4th and 5th?
Yeah. And I think as much as McGregor would walk through him, I think Hooker's put that time in now, because like 3 years ago, I think his job was probably on the line. He had a few losses back to back, and to go from that to where he is now, I think he deserves a shot against a bigger name. I know Justin's a big name, but
there's no bigger name than McGregor in the whole of UFC. Really,
he's not. He's not a famous name, is he? Like
money.
One of those money fights, and not only that, but I would like to see Hooker in that position. I think it would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely would. We'll move on to the main event. So Usman versus Burns. I think, like I said, I am looking forward to the Volkanovski Holloway more, but this is a strange one. I believe they're good friends, aren't they? And they train together. So I think it's going to be strange. Obviously, they're professional fighters. Once they get in the octagon, it's going to be war, but it is also at the same time very strange. Jordan, we'll come to you first.
Yeah, this is the one I'm looking forward to. I think both guys, again, deserve where they are. I do think Gilbert Burns take this one though, and I think it's going to be relatively early as well. We've seen it in that Woodley fight how aggressive he can be and how much explosive he can be. We get that from Usman in some areas, and when he wrestles people up against the fence, we see that. We saw that against Tyron Woodley. He wrestled him. He manhandled him. Loads of errors in that fight. But the good thing about Gilbert Burns is that he knows that he has to get on the inside. Usman throws that long jab, and that jab is powerful. It's one of the key reasons why he beat Kobe the way he did, is that long jab. And I think Gilbert is going to get on the inside, do some damage, overhand, left hook, and he loves to get on the defense and he's throwing those uppercuts as well. And we saw that, how he got down Woodley in the first round. Using Derek Butts in that uppercut as well. That's what I mean, that explosive power from Gilbert. And the amount of shots that Usman took from Kobe in that first fight, it was, if Gilbert's catching you with those, you're not lasting long. Kobe doesn't cut that much weight for his 170 fights. We know that. Don't get me wrong, he doesn't. I'm not saying that he doesn't have power. He has power. But this is where Gilbert Burns comes in. He knocks out Damian Maia with one punch. Yes, Damian Maia is out of his peak now and he's getting old. But he knocks people out. And when he does knock them out, they don't move. And this is what I mean. If he does tag Usman the way he does, it's going to be good. What I am looking forward to is that bottom exchange. Who gets someone on the ground first? I do see, for example, if Gilbert Burns does push him against the fence and, they're both within each other, I do think Usman does take it onto the ground. But let's see how Gilbert Burns reacts to this. We do know he's very good at jiu-jitsu. He's one of the reasons why he wins his fights as well as knocking people out. But yeah, it's one of those fights I'm really looking forward to. How I just have this weird feeling that Gilbert Burns is going to do it early with that explosiveness and that power. But let's see how Usman deals with it. I think he's going to use that long jab. He's going to have to push for that takedown, I do believe. But when he gets him down, what's going to happen? I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. And it's the one I'm looking forward to most. Yeah,
no, I get why it's probably the main event over Volkanovski Holloway. Because and like I said, I do find it fascinating. Obviously, them being teammates. Like I said, they're in the same gym, aren't they? Do they have their corner is going to be like? It's just going to be strange, isn't it? I can't imagine it personally. I'm assuming it's probably happened before at some point in the UFC.
Yeah, it's happened. It's happened a few times.
But yeah, I can imagine it's very strange. Should we go Owen next?
Again, I think this one's interesting. Well, they're all interesting, of course. You're putting two guys in a cage and making them fight each other. But I think there's a few key factors that change the outcome in this one for me. I think if you take them both at 6 months and put them in a cage after a training camp, no fights, I think the outcome sways more towards Usman, but Burns is on fire at the minute. He's coming off fight after fight after fight. He's been so active. And there's nothing, he's not been injured. There's nothing better for you than experience. And we've seen it before where guys take a year out and come back and they get smashed. It's those guys who are fighting and who are fighting regularly. It's because you can spar as much as you want, you can train as much as you want, but you get in that cage in front of a crowd or not. But when it's judges and when you're actually fighting and there's a winner and there's a loser, it makes a big difference. And that you can train for it, but you can't come close then to actually doing it. And like I said, Burns is on it, so I've got Burns winning this one. And I'm not sure if that's just because I think he deserves it more, but yeah, in my eyes, Burns has got this one.
Yeah, I think
he
Burns has he fought twice or 3 times since the lockdown? It's twice, isn't it?
Twice, isn't it?
Twice.
Yeah,
Which is
twice.
amazing.
Meyer and Woodley, isn't it?
Yeah,
This would be the 3rd time, and
it's ridiculous.
like I said, it's quick turnover. He's fresh. He's excited, and that win feeling, there's nothing like it. Like,
No, you
it's
can't
the
train
best
that.
feeling in the world, and there's no better motivation than a win. People say, you lose and you get back up again and you learn, but it still sucks.
Yeah.
Losing fucking sucks, and you can't, you don't go on the same day. Oh yeah, but I get to train, I get to do this, I get to do that. The motivation off a loss comes after.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're on a win streak and you want to keep that streak, and then you've got a title shot coming, I can imagine how Burns is feeling. I can, like, the hotness, the motivation, the hunger, and I think that plays a massive factor in this fight, especially as they're friends, especially as they know each other. And there's no one else that knows but them who is better at each place, who's better at wrestling, who's better at jits, because they've trained it. They've rolled together. They've just wrestled together. They've grappled together. They've done striking, and they've sparred. So it'd be interesting to see how much one of them doesn't want to go to the ground, how much, because they know. I think this one's definitely I'm staying up for this one.
Yeah, we are. What about you, Joe, mate? What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, I agree with both guys as far as the outcome goes. I think Burns will take it. If he does finish him, I don't think it will be early, but I do definitely see a potential that he could stop him. I think a lot of people are writing Burns off just because of how dominant Usman's been. But like Owen said, he's been so active, Burns. He's been so active. And like you said as well, you can spar as much as you want, but you don't have the time and you don't have the feeling. You're not under the same pressure as when you're actually fighting. So I think that is a massive, massive key in Burns winning the fight. And also because obviously they've trained together for years, Burns was so up for taking this fight, which says a lot. Like, it's not like they had one training session years ago or anything like that. They've trained regularly many, many times. So the fact that he was so up for it, I think, is a brilliant sign for him. I just love Burns' style. He's for the weight, I guess, a little bit shorter, very compact, but his striking's very good. It's come on leaps and bounds as well, because obviously he is more of a grappler. But every throw, every punch he throws is bad intentions. He takes his head off center line constantly, so he's a little bit harder to be hit. So yeah. So I just think it's going to be a phenomenal fight. As far as the I don't really think Burns will sub him, even though he's got really good jiu-jitsu. I think Usman's wrestling will be able to. He'll be able to stop Burns' jiu-jitsu, but obviously if Burns gets on top of him, if he gets on top of him, that's a whole different game. But I definitely would give Burns the edge here.
Yeah, I can see this being one of those fights where, say, Burns wins and there'll be a rematch. I can see this being one of those that goes 3 fights and has like a trilogy fight, 100%. I'd like to tell everyone to like this video because I've not been getting very, very many likes recently, which is annoying. But before we go, little beg, I've got to put it out there. Before we go, we've had a question actually sent in from a viewer to discuss. So
was it Mel?
No, it wasn't Mel. It was actually you, Joe. And Joe wanted to discuss Darren Till and leg kicks. So to discuss this, we're going to go to Owen first.
Let's do it.
Can we give
what do you think of Darren Till? Does Darren Till use leg kicks?
Yeah, I need some context.
Right, Owen, I will explain what's going on here. So basically, Jordan said that Darren Till doesn't do anything like a Muay Thai fighter, and he doesn't use kicks, leg kicks effectively. We were having a debate on it, so he told me to look at the fight with Gastelum, where 41% of his landed strikes were leg kicks. And he also said that he didn't use leg kicks very well against Wonderboy Tom.
See this.
Why is he muting himself?
Someone was calling me. Disabled him somewhat with the oblique kicks. He did really well with the leg kicks, and I believe that was 39% of the landed shots were also leg kicks. Now, I know he doesn't fight like a super traditional Muay Thai fighter, but I think that's because obviously he's in MMA and there's many holes to that, so he's adapted it well. But yeah, so that was what the debate was about. What do you think, Owen?
I know this fighter. I've not watched deeply into too many of his fights because he's not on my A list. But like just from what I have seen, I think saying effectively and throwing leg kicks is two very different things.
Yeah.
And he's a very lazy striker. He's a bit like a Michael Bisping, and it does work. But I think if he was to practice technique better, from what I've seen, if he turns his shin in a little more, maybe pops his hip out a little more, he would have to throw half as many kicks because they'd be doing more damage. Like everyone can always improve on technique, but he's a very, very lazy striker. And like I said, I think where Jordan's coming from, he's not saying he doesn't throw leg kicks. I think he's just not throwing them as effectively as he could.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, that's what I was trying to say. Like, when you get with Justin Gaethje, he doesn't have to throw that many. Like with Dustin Poirier, we were saying that Dustin Poirier is one of those guys where he can take damage. Where obviously, like, he took that shot from Conor and he went down. People are like, oh yeah, he's got no heart. Yes, he does. You know, he took so many leg kicks from Justin Gaethje and he kept moving forward. With Darren Till, I love Darren Till. I love his attitude towards the game. But yeah, I do agree with Owen. He is quite lazy. He likes to throw that left hand. He throws the kicks to utilize his punches. You know what I mean? What with that Donald Cerrone, when he got near the finish, he didn't grab like a Muay Thai fighter would. He didn't enable the clinch and throw those knees. He was still punching like a boxer. Like he was being like a technical brawler. He could have finished it much easier. He could have got it in the clinch. TJ did a show with Cody Garbrandt. Gets him up events. What does he do? He goes for a clinch. We know that he doesn't really like utilizing the clinch TJ did show because he uses his movement, but he throws and he boom. But Darren Till, yeah, he does throw his kicks like a Muay Thai fighter, but as he doesn't throw them effectively enough. Doesn't use too much technique in order to to get that. But
okay, Joe's had enough of your crap.
Fucking, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? But, maybe the boys got tired. But you know what I mean? But yeah, I that's what I mean. Like Darren Till is a good fight, but yeah, I do agree with what Owen said. He is kind of, let's say, on the back foot of being lazy with his technique. He shows that he wants power instead of technique, and we've seen that from a lot of fighters. That technique, in the end, is one of the most important keys to victory.
And my problem with these kicks as well is if you watch, the key is to be landing them just above the knee, and you want to be hitting the same place every time. Your leg, maybe not mine because I'm a short ass, but your thigh is quite big and your shin is quite thin. You want to be hitting the same place, like I think, and that's where Conor McGregor, but that's where his training and his placement training, I think, is so key, because it is practicing and making sure you're landing that shot in the same place and hitting it with the same strikes. And Darren Till uses it to get his boxing in, and again, it does work clearly because he's in the UFC. He's won fights and he's done really well. But where he could utilize a bit of skill would be in his placement and in his technique of, like I said, turning that hip in a little more, so his kick and his shin's going down into the thigh instead of just up, because that's what he does. He just kicks up into the leg.
Yeah.
And you want to get that shin bone in. It's nasty.
No.
Well, the discussion came from what was it was because we were talking about the Mike Perry fight. Like, who's Mike Perry's next opponent? And he was like, I think he would do I think it'd be Till. Obviously, they have that back and forth on Instagram and stuff like this. And I said, obviously, like with the fight Mike Perry does have some tools that can be a threat to Darren Till. When Darren Till is on that front foot, he wins his fights. When he's on the back foot, he hasn't. You know what I mean? With that Jorge Masvidal fight, he got it back. You know what I mean? He was on the back foot when he got knocked out. And Perry does come to that. With that one kick, it's not really going to stop Perry. You know, he takes those kicks and he takes punches and he keeps going forward. We saw that. Miguel caught with some good punches. He still kept going forward. So it's one of those things with Darren Till. I think if he has more tools to polish up, I think he's going to be a really good fight in the end. But yeah, we'll see what happens, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd just like to thank Joe for bringing that question to the table. Thanks, Joe.
As the boys.
Oh, Joe,
the
where
boys.
Oh, Joe's gone.
Timekeeping.
Thanks for coming on, Joe. Thanks for coming up, Jordan.
No worries, man. Thank you.
And thanks for coming on, Owen. Cheers,
Anytime.
guys.